Whew. All right. So New Year means looking back at 2018 with rose-tinted glasses or pessimism, if you're that kind of person, and finding out what is the best, looking back at memories and shit like that, right? And obviously, because this is a gaming channel, we're going to look at my favorite games of 2018. Obviously, those are my opinions, so don't get your panties in a bunch. Also, if you don't see like a big title that a lot of people fucking loved on here, chances are I didn't play it. Like, I did not play Red Dead Redemption and I did not play Celeste. So, you're not going to see those games on here. I'm not going to pretend to like something because everyone else did. So, yeah, that's basically it. Make sure to, put that into your mind when you're going through it so you don't get like fucking pissed off for no real reason when I don't say your favorite game. Alright, with that out of the way, let's just get into this list. So we start this list off at number 10 with a game that I don't think a lot of people really will have on their lists, but Super Mario Party, right? I thought about whether or not I want to include this game because the game does suffer from, a lot of issues, a lot of it being totally related to how much content is really in the game, because there really isn't all that much. But what is there is really, I don't know, entertaining, right? And I think about how much fun I had with friends playing this game, and I felt like it would be lying to myself if I didn't include it at the very least. So I felt that while I didn't really, feel like it totally deserves being called one of the best games of the year because it really was bare bones, it was a game that I had a lot of fun with, and I have several hours just kind of shooting the shit with friends and laughing until I teared up, right? So, yeah, Super Mario Party, easily number 10, and something I really enjoyed. Maybe you guys will like it, but, yeah, content is pretty sparse, but, still, a really fucking fun game. Number 9 is Mega Man 11. Mega Man 11 was kind of just a middle-of-the-road Mega Man game for me, but in a year where I didn't really enjoy that many games that released, I felt that Mega Man 11 still deserved a spot and definitely deserved it above Super Mario Party anyways. It was a well-made game, and as far as I'm concerned, the difficulty was right where it needed to be if you wanted it to be, as difficult as the classic games, and that's basically it. It's not any higher because they didn't really do much for me as like a game as a whole. Like, it didn't give me a masterful story. It didn't give me, amazing, mind-blowing level design. It didn't really, do much as a whole. But in general, Mega Man 11 was a game that I enjoyed enough to put on this list, and that's why it's up here. Simple as that. Number 8 goes to a game that might surprise a few people, and that's Monster Hunter World. And yeah, I know, it's not a Switch game. Shocker. But at the same time, it was a game series that I never really talked about before and never really played before this point. And I know that some people who are hardcore Monster Hunter fans are not really that big on Monster Hunter World. I mean, not the ones that I know anyway. And a lot of their points just happen to be about it being more casualized for the casual audience, or at least make it more approachable for a lot more people. But, considering this is my list and this is my first time playing Monster Hunter, I generally enjoyed Monster Hunter World, and I felt that it was enough to put it up here. Maybe I'll play other Monster Hunter games that, hardcore fans vouch for more. I did pick up the Monster Hunter that's available on Switch, so I'll be playing more Monster Hunter. I just don't know how much more. If I have the time, I'll get into it. But as of now, Monster Hunter World, number 8 on this list. StarLink Battle for Atlas is my number 7 pick. This was a game I initially intended on reviewing, but I got so lost in the game that I just never really ended up doing it. I didn't put it any higher because the game can be a little repetitive, and also a lot of Toys to Life aspects of the game can actually hinder your experience slightly, but not by much. You can play most of the game perfectly fine. I want to say like 90% of the game without ever really utilizing any of the other Toys to Life things they would sell. But StarLink is just fucking fantastic. That it is probably what I personally think to be the biggest sleeper hit of the year. the fact that I can kind of just go planet to planet without a loading screen happening, although I'm pretty sure loading is happening between entering the planets, but whatever. I'm not a technical genius or in any capacity, but basically the point I'm trying to make is that I've always wanted an open world space exploration game that didn't suck. And you know, at first I thought No Man's Sky was that game, and it sucked. I'm sorry. I heard it got better with updates, but I'm not going back into that game. I'm just not. But you know, StarLink Battle for Atlas kind of scratched that itch. You know, like it ended up being what I wanted it to be. And while it's not exactly perfect with its really repetitive nature and its story just being okay at best, it's you know, it does the bare minimum. I enjoyed it enough that while I have not beaten it, I do plan on going back to it eventually and beating it. It's just a lot of fun, and you know, other than a few annoyances, I think StarLink does deserve being on this top 10 list. Number 6 is for another game that is not on Switch, Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. This is another game just like StarLink that I did not finish playing, but the time I spent with it was really good. Ni no Kuni 2 just kind of got put on the back burner for other games that came out, you know, later on down the line, and just like any other RPG in existence, it takes a lot of your time. But the art style is beautiful, the combat is fun, the story is interesting. There's only like a few little things that I'm not a fan of. There's like a cool kingdom building aspect to the game, so it really makes you feel like a king. And I know that's kind of like a cliche thing to say, like, oh, it just makes you feel like whatever, but it does kind of help. I don't know. I feel that it does help in making that part of the game worth it, right? The only thing I'm not a fan of is, and while I do feel it's necessary, there's an aspect of the game where you lead troops to fight another army, and it just feels like the gameplay of that specifically is just really bare bones and just doesn't do much for me. And if I have the option, I'll choose to ignore those missions as a whole. But other than that, beautiful game, a lot of fun to play. I wish I had the time to continue it. I probably will later on, but until then, yeah, number 6 is Ni no Kuni 2. Should I read off this poorly written script I wrote just for this game?
Read it, boy.
Alright, truth is, I don't actually have a script. I just wanted to really make that joke. But yeah, God of War goes to number 5. Probably easily one of the top games of the year. I know for a lot of people this is their game of the year, but I just didn't feel like it was I didn't feel like it was my personal game of the year. And if you're annoyed that it's not mine, then I don't know what to tell you. But regardless, I did enjoy the game. It was a lot of fun to play, and the story was also really good. I feel like the story was actually, for me, the best part of the game. And while I did enjoy the gameplay aspect of the game, I am one of those people who did prefer the old style of God of War gameplay. I don't necessarily hate the new style. I think it's good, it's just different, and I just kind of slightly prefer the old one. And from what I've heard from people who were fans of God of War, which I'm not, the old style was getting stale. It was kind of just like the same old, and people just got tired of it. And if that's the case, then I understand why they made such a big jump in the difference of gameplay. But for me, I just generally enjoyed the older style more, and this one just didn't appeal to me as much. But God of War still definitely deserves to be up here because it's a fantastic game. If you own a PS4, you should really do yourself a favor and buy it. But, you know, weird enough, it wasn't my favorite PS4 game, but that game is coming up. Oh boy, I know there's gonna be some people who don't like that I put this low, but Octopath Traveler is my number 4. It is what I think to be one of the best RPGs on the console, and it was also one of my first really like real reviews, I guess you could say. But beautiful art style, voice acting is decent, fun combat system. Like, it does a lot extremely well. If you're into old school JRPGs, Octopath Traveler is a must play. It is that good. However, if you watch my review, which you can totally check it out on my channel, but if you watch my review, I did have problems with some of the repetitious nature of the chapters. And I felt that the chapters on their own, story-wise, were not as interesting as they could have been. Although that could be caused by the fact that there are 8 playable characters in this game. But regardless of the fact, Octopath Traveler is by far one of the best exclusives on the Switch that released this year, and I just have to put it up here. It's really good. It's just, again, if you are a fan of old school JRPGs, you owe it to yourself to play Octopath Traveler. Earlier in this video, when I was talking about God of War, I mentioned that it was not my favorite PS4 game. What I meant to say was that it was not my favorite PS4 game of this year, because that goes to this spot, number 3, Marvel's Spider-Man. See, Spider-Man is personally my favorite PS4 game, exclusive anyways, this year. It is, I don't know how to put it. It's just like, I've never played a game before where I thoroughly enjoy moving around the world so much that I completely ignored fast travel as a whole. Typically, when I see fast travel as an option, I'll get somewhere for the first time and then fast travel there from every point, every single time. Like, that's just how it is. But in this game, it just isn't the case. Like, Spider-Man, I love the way you travel so much. It is so much fun. The movement is fucking just fantastic. I love it. And as someone from New York, it's kind of cool seeing New York, you know, replicated in such a degree in this game. It's definitely the most accurate New York I've seen, even if I've noticed a lot of inconsistencies. But doesn't matter. It is the best representation of New York. Combat is fun. I actually enjoy it more than Batman Arkham games. And I don't know, its story is not exactly as good as certain other games on this list, but it's a lot better than certain games on this list. I would like to say that it hits the middle ground. But yeah, Spider-Man, great game. I plan on probably buying the DLC at some point or another, but until then, yeah, Spider-Man goes on the 3rd spot. Number 2 is probably a little obvious if you follow me on Twitter and have been kind of keeping track with the shit I've been playing, which would be weird if you did because that's kind of stalkerish, but you know, whatever. The point is, number 2 goes to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torna, the Golden Country. Now, depending on how you look at things, you might make the argument, well, why is Torna the Golden Country on here? That's not a game, that's a DLC, that's an expansion, right? But my argument is, if a DLC can be played standalone, like if it can be played without the main game, then that is not an expansion anymore. That is a game. And it took me 40 hours to beat this DLC. That's a game. There are full games. Like, it took me less time to beat God of War to beat just Torna the Golden Country, right? Now, of course, that's not exactly the most fair comparison because that's 2 completely different styles of games, but Torna the Golden Country is fantastic. That was easily my game of the year up until number 1 on this list, and if you know me pretty well, I'm pretty sure you can predict what number 1 will be. But Torna was just fantastic story, great characters, a great game overall. It really explained a lot of things that ties in with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It essentially is a prequel of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So, you know, what's so great about this is you can play without it. It's basically a game. You know, it's a game, and it's just so good. It is so good. And if you did not play this and you've played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, play this game. I understand maybe you think I already know what's gonna happen because I've played the original base game. But you owe it to yourself. Play this game. This game is fantastic. It was easily my game of the year, and it stayed being my game of the year for quite some time. But because of a certain game that released later on down the road, it got beat. But it got beat for different reasons. So I'm gonna say this now. In terms of story, in terms of a world to explore, Torna the Golden Country was just the best this year had in terms of what I've played. So yeah, that's basically it. This game quite easily earns the number 2 spot on this list. The game that is number 1, my game of the year, has to be so fucking obvious to what it is that if you can't predict what it is, then this is clearly the only video of my channel that you've seen, and if that's the case, subscribe. Shameless plug. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, number 1 goes to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I have been completely obsessed with this game. I did a whole other video talking about how obsessed I am with this game, and that is not stopping anytime soon. I don't even know how many hours I've already put into the game, but it is easily past 200 already. And at the time of this recording, it's probably gonna increase from the time of this recording till the upload time by a considerable amount. I've been just playing it non-stop. I've been playing nothing else since it came out. It is by far, it is, I don't even know how to put it into words. It's just so good. If you love video game history, if you love Nintendo, if you love like past Smash games, maybe you play past Smash games, or maybe this would be your first Smash game, this game is fantastic. And I was going to do a review for this game, but I just never did, and that's kind of a disservice. Maybe I'll do one later on, but I feel that it's just so obvious how much I enjoyed this game. It is just fantastic. I've been obsessed for way too long, and I don't really feel it's necessary for me to talk about the game for too long, because I already kind of did that. I did a whole video about it, like a 15 to 20 minute video or some shit like that, right? So if you want to know how much I care about this, go check that out. But yeah, easily Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, my number 1 game, my game of the year. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have your own game that you felt should have been on this list, feel free to let me know. There are certain games that came out this year that I heard were fantastic, and I just never got around to playing them. The first 2 that comes to mind being Red Dead Redemption and Celeste. Those games I never really got the time to sit down and play. And you know what? Maybe I will someday. So maybe one of those games are the ones you're thinking of. If not, maybe you disagree with my placement of certain games on this list. So maybe you felt that some games on this list shouldn't have been there at all. Let me know. But as of now, this is how I feel, and you know what? It was a good time making this video, you know? But feel free to comment your game of the year, and feel free to comment what you think about my list. Maybe we can get a discussion going. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.
From the coals, colors weave into a